Your staff is spending 10 hours a week, 10 hours just looking for documents. That's one full-time employee out of every 5 doing nothing but searching for information that should be findable in seconds. But that's not even the real problem. The real problem is what happens when you can't find something that matters. A public records request with a 5-day deadline, an auditor asking for grants documentation, a lawsuit where you need to prove what was approved and when, a council member asking a question in a public meeting that you can't answer because nobody knows where the file is. And that's when document chaos stops being an inconvenience and becomes a liability, a legal liability, financial liability, and the kind of public embarrassment that ends careers. Today I'm going to explain what an electronic document management system is, how it works, and why every local government needs one. And no, I'm not just talking about scanning documents to your cloud drive. So let's start with the basics. An electronic document management system, EDMS for short, is software that centralizes how your organization creates, stores, organizes, retrieves, and manages documents. Instead of files scattered across shared drives, email inboxes, filing cabinets, and individual desktops, everything lives in a single searchable repository with consistent organization and access controls. But an EDMS is more than just a filing cabinet in the cloud. The key capabilities that distinguish a true document management system from simple file storage include indexing and metadata, version control, access management, workflow automation, and retention management. So the first one is indexing and metadata. That means every document is tagged with searchable attributes: document type, department, date, project, customer, whatever categories make sense for your organization. When someone needs to find a document, they don't have to remember the file name or what folder it's in. They search by attributes and the system finds it in seconds. The second thing you want to know is version control. Means the system tracks every change to every document. You always know which version is current. You can see who made what changes and when. You can recover previous versions if needed. No more confusions about which final underscore v3 underscore revised underscore final docs. You get my point. It's actually final. Third is access management. Means you control who can see, edit, or delete each document. Finance documents stay in finance. Personnel files are restricted to HR, sensitive legal materials are protected, and you have audit trails showing who accessed what and when. Next is workflow automation. That means documents can move through approval processes automatically. A contract comes in, gets routed to legal for review, then to finance for budget confirmation, then to department heads for signature, all tracked, all documented, all without someone manually forwarding emails or walking paperwork between offices. Then there's retention management, which means the system enforces your records retention policy automatically. Documents are retained for the required period, then flagged for destruction or archival according to your schedule. So no more boxes in the basement that should have been destroyed years ago, and no more accidental deletion of records you're legally required to keep. So an EDMS brings all of this together in a unified platform, which replaces the chaos of distributed file storage with organized, controlled, accessible information management. So why does the government need EDMS? Every organization can benefit from better document management, but government has specific requirements that make an EDMS particularly important. The first one is public records request. Public records requests are a legal obligation. It's not an optional service. When a citizen or journalist submits a public records request, a FOIA request at the federal level, with equivalent laws in every state, you're required to respond within a defined time frame. If your documents are scattered across 20 different locations in 17 different formats, responding to those requests becomes a massive burden. Staff spend hours or days hunting for records that should be findable in minutes. Deadlines get missed, requesters get frustrated, and sometimes records that should have been disclosed aren't found at all. An EDMS transforms this process. When a request comes in, you search by date, topic, department, or any other relevant criteria and find everything in one place. You can review for exemptions, redact what's necessary, and produce responsive documents without turning your office upside down. And then records retention is another legal requirement with serious consequences for non-compliance. Local governments are subject to retention schedules that specify how long different types of records must be kept. Financial records for one period, personnel files for another, meeting minutes for another, contracts for another, and some records must be preserved permanently. Others must be destroyed after a specific period. So managing this manually is nearly impossible as document volumes just grow. I know counties that have whole buildings and warehouses full of documents. that they can't get rid of. So an EDMS applies retention rules automatically, flagging records for review when their retention periods expire and preventing accidental deletion of records that must be preserved. And of course, there's audit readiness, which matters for government organizations that are regularly audited by state agencies, federal grantors, or independent auditors. So when auditors request documentation, you need to produce it quickly and completely. An EDMS with good metadata and version control means you can demonstrate exactly what decisions were made, when, by whom, and based on what information. You're not scrambling to reconstruct a paper trail that should have been maintained all along. Disaster recovery is something nobody wants to talk about until it's too late. If your city hall floods, if a fire destroys your records room, if a server crashes without proper backup, what happens to your critical documents? Paper records are gone forever. Files on local drives may be unrecoverable. An EDMS, particularly a cloud-based one, ensures your documents are protected, backed up, and accessible even if your physical office is compromised. You can also use EDMS for collaboration between departments, which is more difficult than it should be. When planning needs a document from Public Works and Public Works needs something from finance and finance needs something from legal, how does that information flow in your organization? Let me know in the comments below. In many organizations, it flows slowly, unreliably, with lots of duplicate copies floating around. And EDMS creates a single source of truth that authorizes users across departments to access without creating endless copies or waiting for someone to forward an email or come back from vacation. So how does an EDMS actually work? Let me walk you through how documents actually flow through an electronic document management system. Step one is capture, is how documents enter the system. Paper documents get scanned. Modern scanners can process hundreds of pages per hour with automatic document separation, optical character recognition that makes the text searchable. Electronic documents get imported directly, whether they're Word files, PDFs, emails, spreadsheets, or images. Some organizations set up automated capture from email systems, so messages meeting certain criteria are automatically filed. Others integrate with line of business applications, ERP systems, so documents generated by other systems flow into the EDMS without manual intervention. Step two is indexing, which happens at capture or shortly after. The system assigns metadata to each document. Metadata is data about the document. So the system assigns this metadata to each document, either automatically based on the rules that you define, manually by the person filing the document, or through a combination of both. Good indexing is what makes retrieval fast and reliable. If a document isn't indexed properly, it might as well not exist. You'll never find it when you need it. Third is storage. This is where the documents live. This might be on-premise or in your data center or a private cloud environment or public cloud service. Modern EDMS platforms typically offer cloud deployment with enterprise-grade security, redundant storage, and automatic backup. Your documents are encrypted at rest and in transit, protected by access control and recoverable even if hardware fails. And then retrieval is what matters most to end users. When someone needs a document, they search by any combination of indexed attributes: document type, date range, department, keyword, whatever makes sense. The system returns matching results in seconds. Good systems and well-implemented systems let users have frequent searches, set up folders or workspaces that automatically show relevant documents, and access everything from anywhere with an internet connection. And then there's the workflow. This is where documents move through the business processes. An invoice comes in, gets routed to the appropriate approver based on amount and department, gets approved and kicked back for questions, and moves to payment with every step logged and auditable. A contract, for example, goes through legal review, management approval, signature collection, and filing, all tracked in the system. Workflows can include notifications, deadlines, escalation rules, parallel routing for documents, which may need multiple simultaneous approvals. The next thing is retention and disposition, which happens according to the schedules you define. So it all goes back to your definition of how you want the system set up. So the system tracks how long each document has been retained, flags documents approaching their retention limit, prevents deletion of documents, and when appropriate, queues documents for destruction with proper approval workflows. Once again, everything you define. Go back to the requirements definition. If you want to learn more about requirements definition, click on this video. There's several terms around EDMS or documents or content, right? So what is EDMS versus ECM versus a simple file storage? So you might be wondering how and EDMS differs from other document-related technologies that you've heard about. And let me clarify the landscape. The first one is simple file storage, like shared network drives, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, which provides a place to put files, right? You organize it by folder. That's about it. You can organize folders, share links, maybe search file names, but there's no indexing beyond what you manually create with folder structures. Now that's starting to come up in the Mac OSs where you can do the Spotlight search and it'll pull up everything with a certain name, but it's still not as good as an EDMS is because there is no indexing beyond what you manually create with folder structures. There's no version control beyond hoping people name files correctly. No workflow automation, no retention management, no audit trails. For personal use or small teams with simple needs, file storage might be adequate, but for government operations with compliance requirements, it's not. Next is electronic document management system. These provide the capabilities I've described: indexing, version control, access control, workflow automation, retention management, audit trails. And EDMS is focused specifically on document management and does that function really well. Then there's enterprise content management. What is the difference between document and content? ECM, electronic content management, is a broader category that includes EDMS functionality, but it extends to other types of content: images, video, web content, records management, business process management. And most ECM systems can function as an EDMS, but they include capabilities that you might not need and come with corresponding complexity and cost. The distinction has blurred over time, and many vendors use the term somewhat interchangeably. Then there's the records management systems. These focus specifically on the compliance aspects: retention schedules, legal holds, destruction certificates, chain of custody documentation. A good example is what the public safety folks use. That's records management. So in government, records management requirements are often stringent enough that you need either a dedicated records management system or an EDMS with strong records management capabilities that are built in. For most local governments, a solid EDMS with good records management features is the sweet spot: comprehensive enough to meet compliance requirements, focused enough to be implementable without a multi-year enterprise content management initiative. If you're evaluating electronic document management systems for your organization, here are the 5 capabilities and considerations. Number 1, government-specific functionality. This matters more than you might think. Records retention schedules, public records request management, audit trail requirements, integration with government financial and HR systems. Vendors that focus on government understand these needs. Vendors that primarily serve private sector customers might treat government requirements as edge cases. 2 is integration with existing systems. This determines whether your EDMS becomes a productivity tool or another siloed system. Can it integrate with your email system to capture correspondence? Can it connect to your ERP to file financial documents? Can it work with your permitting system, your agenda management system, your HR system? The more your EDMS connects to your existing technology environment, the more value it's going to deliver. Next, search capabilities. How will your users interact with the system? How powerful and flexible is the search? Can users search full text within documents or just the metadata, just the file names? Can they combine criteria, save searches, filter results? A system that's difficult to search, not going to be used, no matter how well it's organized. Then there's workflow automation. This should be flexible enough to match your actual processes. Every organization is different. Can you define custom workflows without extensive programming? Can you modify workflows as your needs change? Can you handle exceptions when documents don't fit the standard process? And then you have to think about user experience, which determines adoption. If the system's clunky, confusing, requires extensive training, your staff's not going to use it. They'll find workarounds and you'll be back to documents scattered everywhere. Look for intuitive interfaces, mobile access for staff in the field, and self-service capabilities that don't require IT involvement for routine tasks. And then security and compliance obviously should meet your requirements without overburdening users. Role-based access control, encryption, audit logging, compliance certifications, these matter for government organizations handling sensitive information. But security that's so cumbersome people can't get their work done defeats the purpose. You also have to think about cloud versus on-premise deployment. This is a decision you have to make. Cloud deployment typically offers lower upfront costs, automatic updates, built-in backup and disaster recovery, and access from anywhere. On-premise deployment offers maximum control over your data and might be required by certain policies or regulations. Many vendors offer both options or hybrid approaches. You have to pick the vendor carefully. Vendor stability and support matters for a system that you're going to depend on for years. How long has the vendor been in business? Do they have government customers of similar size and complexity? What is their track record for support responsiveness? What happens if they go out of business or get acquired? So let's talk about some common products. Let me briefly mention some EDMS products you'll commonly encounter in government. Number one is, and these aren't in any particular order. First one is Laserfish. This is one of the most widely deployed document management systems in local gov. They've been focused on the public sector for decades and have strong records management capabilities, workflow automation, integration with common government systems. Next is Highland OnBase. This is an enterprise content management platform with significant government presence, particularly in large organizations with complex requirements. It's powerful, but typically more complex and expensive than solutions designed specifically for smaller governments. Then there's Microsoft SharePoint. This is often used for document management because organizations already have it through their 365 licensing. SharePoint can work for basic document management, but lacks the government-specific functionality, particularly records management, that purpose-built systems provide. Organizations often use SharePoint as a collaboration platform alongside a dedicated EDMS. We've talked about Tyler Technologies. Tyler offers document management integrated with their financial and municipal management systems. If you're already a Tyler shop, their document management might integrate more smoothly than a third-party solution. And then there's DocuWare, M-Files, OpenText. All others serve government customers with varying approaches and price points. The right choice depends on your specific requirements, existing technology environment, and budget. I'm not recommending any particular product. Every organization's needs are different, but understanding the landscape helps you ask better questions when evaluating options. So, an electronic document management system is not going to solve every information challenge your organization faces. But for most governments, implementing an EDMS delivers measurable improvements. Faster response to public record requests, better audit preparedness, reduced risk of compliance failures, and perhaps most importantly, staff who spend less time searching for documents and more time doing actual work. The organizations that implement document management successfully treat it as a business process improvement project. It's not just a technology purchase. It's not a scanning project. You need to think about how documents will be captured, how they're indexed, what workflows will be designed, and how users will be trained. The technology is the easy part, as always. The organizational change is what determines success. If your staff is spending 10 hours a week looking for information that should be at their fingertips, that's a problem worth solving. And EDMS is how you solve it. If you're evaluating a document management system or broader technology modernization for your government organization, click on this video to learn more, because that's exactly what we help with at Avero Advisors. Thank you.